everyone. My name is Susie, and my intervention for today is going to be exploding balloons. Um, I found it in a book about called Favorite Therapeutic Activities for Children, Adolescents, and Families. Um, and it was submitted by Lauren Snailham, and she had published it and created family therapy techniques. The target age group for this intervention, I would say children middle school to early high school. So that would be about 12 to maybe 15, 16 years old. And it's definitely, I would recommend it for individual counseling sessions. And it would be used for helping the child or the client learn, practice, and implement appropriate strategies for expressing their anger, and also helping them to identify how holding on to your anger can kind of lead to problems and hard times. For this intervention, you'll need balloons, two balloons for the participant, and I will have a few extra just in case, and two or three sheets of paper, markers, and safety glasses. So the multicultural considerations to be aware of when deciding whether or not this technique is for you. I would think about the maturity of the child because this technique does include popping balloons. You want to make sure that the child's not going to be kind of laughing the whole time. So I was definitely trying to use it around more so middle school. And also, I would really, really recommend the therapist be conscious of the family background and history of the child. So, for instance, if they're easily startled by loud noises, or if they grew up kind of in a neighborhood that may or may not have been like a little more unsafe, they really loud noises may kind of be a trigger for them. And also, modifications for special needs. I would say I would definitely think physical disabilities. So it may be that you need to pop the balloon for the child. Um, so I hope you guys enjoyed this technique. And the person helping me today is going to be Ashley. And I'm looking forward to your feedback. Talked about how you've recently switched schools because you were kind of involved in a lot of fighting with at your old school, and you had kind of had a hard time with some of the students, and you kind of told me that you're kind of finding yourself in the same predicament this time around. So tell me a little bit about what it's been like.
Well, it's been hard coming to a new school, but I'm still getting in trouble a whole lot. It's just I don't like the girls in my class.
Yeah. It can be kind of hard getting along with some of the other students in the class, can it? Yeah. Well, today there's an activity that I wanted us to try, and I think it will kind of really be able to kind of applicate it to you, and so we'll see. And I'm really hoping that I'll get some feedback from you. We'll kind of talk through it while we're doing it. So if you have any questions while we're doing it, just ask. Okay. So how do I know if you're angry? What are some signs?
I usually get really quiet. Like I don't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
Sometimes I throw things or like slam things around.
Yeah, let's try to think of like just a few things, and we can write. You can I have all these markers and crayons here, so you can pick any one of them, and let's just make a list, and we'll call it signs that Ashley's upset.
Okay. I like this one.
Okay.
So like I said, I get really quiet and I don't want to talk.
Yeah.
I throw things.
Yeah.
Or if I'm at home, I like slam doors or cabinets.
Okay. And so what usually happens after you kind of get really angry, and whether that be at home or at school?
Well, at school and at home are kind of different. If I get really upset at home, my mom gets really upset too.
Yeah.
But she's like me, and then so she doesn't want to talk to me. So we kind of just both like go our separate ways. But at school, if I get upset and like the girls in class know I'm upset, then they just bother me more.
Yeah.
So then it just gets worse.
And that can be upsetting, even more upsetting, right?
Yeah.
So I have some balloons here. I have different colors. So I'd like you to pick your favorite color, and we're going to use 2 different balloons. So you'll get to pick 2 different balloons.
Okay. One orange and blue.
Okay. So we'll put these other ones to the side. And so I want you to think about a time when you were really angry. And you can pick up whichever one of your 2 balloons that you want right now. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to ask you to think about a time when you got really angry. To put on these safety goggles. I know they look kind of lame, so I'll put on a pair as well.
We wear these in science class.
Yeah. I would hope that you wear these in science class because it keeps you safe. Does your teacher sometimes have a hard time getting you guys to keep the goggles on throughout the whole class period?
Yeah, they get kind of annoying after a while.
Sometimes it leaves a mark on your face when you take it off, too.
Yeah, and it gets really hot, too.
So with the balloon, what I want you to do is, like I said, just blow into it. Think of a time when you were really upset, really angry. And as you're blowing into the balloon, I want you to really just, like I said, think back to that specific argument or, whatever moment it was when you were really angry.
How big should I make it?
We'll see. Yes, just keep blowing into the balloon. And if if you're kind of you find yourself that you've had enough time thinking about this specific incident, think of another time when you were angry, because we get angry for different reasons, right?
Right. Okay.
Okay. So now we can take off our goggles. That's why we wear goggles.
Okay.
So what happened with the balloon as you kept blowing into it?
It got big. It got really big till it popped.
Right. And do you think that might be similar to what happens when we hold on to our feelings?
Yeah, because if you don't let them out, then they just stay in.
Yeah.
And they have to go somewhere. So.
Right. And so it may not be bad at first, right? It may just be that, let's say, when you woke up, you woke up late for class and then you missed the bus. So your mom had to drive you to school and she was really upset.
Yeah.
And when you see these girls that you say you have a hard time getting along with and they make you angry and you sometimes end up fighting, you've kind of been dealing with, things adding up and building up throughout the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, again, we kind of touched on this already, but, how do you act when you're angry? We looked at these, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you say you get really quiet when you don't want to talk. And, if you're home, you may, throw things or slam doors. And if you're at school, you may argue with other students until it gets to a physical point, right? Yeah. And so what we want to do is find ways to not allow your anger to get to the point where you're physically fighting with other students. So what we're gonna do now is if you pick up your other balloon.
Okay. We're gonna pop this one too.
No, we're hoping we won't have to pop this one.
Okay.
So again, you can pick up the same incidents you thought of before, or you can pick up different times when you were angry. But this time I want you to blow into it, and we're going to talk about it as you're...
This is harder to blow.
Yeah. All right, let's take a break. So let the air out of this one a little bit. All right. And so now again, I want you to try thinking of a different time when you were angry or upset about something.
Okay. What?
Right. Alrighty. And again, let some of the air out. And so, what do you think is the difference this time and when the balloon popped?
So the first time I just kept blowing until it popped, but this time I let some of the air out,
Right.
so that when I blow into it again, it doesn't get as big,
Right.
so it doesn't pop.
Right. And so when we release some of that pressure, some of that tension, the balloon doesn't pop, right? And so that's kind of what the same thing we're going to hope to do with you is that we're going to try to manage it and catch it early enough that you don't have to we don't have to resort to things like physical fighting and throwing things, maybe harming others, right?
Right.
So we have several sheets of paper here, and again, we have all these crayons and markers and colored pencils on the table, and so you can pick any color, and we're just going to ask ourselves some questions. So, what are some things you can do when you're finding yourself getting angry? So, you said you get really quiet. So, when you're getting really quiet, you're not necessarily at the point where you want to fight yet, are you?
No, I just kind of want to like be by myself,
Right.
separate myself.
Okay. So, we're gonna write a list. So last week we kind of touched on coping skills, and and what did we talk about coping skills? What did we say they are?
Things that I can do that kind of help me manage my feelings.
Right. Exactly. So I'm gonna write a list. I don't know if you want to write on top where just write coping skills. And we're under it. We're gonna write some things you can do to stop yourself from exploding, just like the balloon did, when you feel angry.
Okay.
So what are some things you think you can do?
Last week we talked about counting to 10 or counting backwards from 10 in my head.
And we talked about it may be counting, right, when we talked about it may be better to count backwards because it requires a little bit more focus, right? So instead of focusing on what's making you angry, you're able to kind of, focus on calming yourself down before it, escalates. And what are some other things we can try?
We talked about taking deep breaths.
Right. And we kind of touched on controlled breathing, which is something I want us to try in a little bit after we finish up here. We also talked about how controlled breathing is kind of almost a strange thought because, we breathe every day, but we learned about the difference in just breathing and controlled breathing. Do you have any other ideas?
Listening to music calms me down.
Yeah.
I can't really do that at school.
Right. But you said that sometimes, you even get angry at home, right? And you get to the point where you're slamming doors and wanting to throw things or actually throwing things. So that may be a good one. Because, after you slam the doors and throw the things, you get your music taken away, right? But if you're able to calm yourself down before it escalates to that point, you get to calm yourself down and keep your music. So that's kind of a good incentive, right?
Right.
Is there anything else that calms you down?
Talking to my friend on the phone. If I talk to her,
yeah,
that usually
she's able to calm you down. Friends can be good for that. One that some of my other clients like is they really like visualizing a stop sign. A lot of people have said that works for them. So kind of taking yourself away from the situation and just actually visualizing a stop sign.
Okay.
So if you want to try writing that one. Do you have some happy memories? Kind of like no matter how angry you are, sometimes if you think back to them, They make you happy and they make you laugh.
Um, Happy memory would be back when I was little and my parents were still together and we went to Disney World. So that's like my favorite place.
Your favorite place, yeah. So maybe you could write that, thinking back to those happy memories. I know you have on here talking to your friend, but do you have? Is there any adults at your school that you feel you could go to if you needed something, if you were feeling really scared or really angry?
I don't know. I don't feel like it since it's a new school. I
Yeah.
don't really know a lot of people, and
Right.
then the people that I do know, they kind of know why I switched schools,
Mhm.
so they just automatically assume that I'm the one that's starting trouble.
Right. Okay. So, well, as your time there, as you stay at that school for longer periods of time, one thing you may find yourself being able to do is finding, and I know you have different teachers because you guys switch periods, but one thing you may really find yourself being able to do is having maybe even if it's just one, whether it be a teacher, an assistant principal, or anyone else who's an adult at the school who you can speak to. And they may be able to know things about you that'll help calm you down when you're feeling kind of when you're feeling like you're about to explode like your first balloon did.
So talking to an adult.
Yeah.
Okay.
Talking to an adult. So we have a pretty long list here, huh? I think we did good. How many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, what would you say are, these may be used in different settings, but one thing I know you've really talked about is, the problem with the other girls at the school. And so, I want you to think of maybe your favorite 3 that would be best for dealing with them. And you can just put a star or a heart or a dot, check mark by those. And those will be your favorite 3.
Think of happy memories. Take deep breaths. And count to 10 or count backwards.
Great. Okay, so kind of as you're going to school next week, so as you're going to school next week, I want you to really try to notice when when you say the sign that you're getting angry. I want you to try to really notice those signs, and when you're finding yourself, we talked about our anger thermometer last week, and so when you're finding yourself starting at about a 6, even before you get to a 6, maybe like a 4 or 3 or a 5, like we kind of let the air out. I want you to do this because using these coping skills is the equivalent of what we did with the balloons. It's kind of letting the air out so it doesn't get so big that it explodes, right?
Right.
So, thinking back to some of the feelings and circumstances you were thinking about blowing up that first balloon, do you think that maybe had you thought about these coping skills, before the fight, do you think that might have helped?
Yeah, if I had done them like you said in the beginning when I first started getting angry, but probably after I got past the 5 or 6.
Right, exactly. And you make a very good point. Once you kind of get to once the balloon gets a certain size, it's gonna pop, right? And so then it's too late to try to not pop the balloon because it's already in the process of popping. And so what you want to do is really, like I said, try to let the air out. And that's with your coping skills. So going into this week, do you think that's something you'll be able to try?
I can try it.
You can try it, and we'll talk about it next week and see how it went.
Yeah.
Is there anything you think that might make it hard for you to use your coping skills and, like we said, let the air out?
If I don't do it in time.
Yeah.
And I don't know, these things might make it hard for me to pay attention in class if I'm thinking about a happy memory or counting backwards while the teacher is talking.
Right. It could make it really hard.
Mm-hmm.
So what you want to do is definitely you want to make sure that you're focusing in class.
Mm-hmm.
These are things you want to use maybe when you're not focusing in class. Because when you're focusing in class, you know, you're able to block the girls out.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're finding yourself, if for some reason that they are able to distract you, then that's when you want to be able to go to your coping skills. And going back to your coping skills will enable you to focus up more in class again.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any questions for me?
No.
No? All right. I hope you enjoy our activity, and I will see you next week at the same time, okay?
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Ashley.